I would like to start this podcast on time before Bashar Sayed here, my co-host and my brother across from me, gives me a 5-run penalty. And then I have to do the podcast on my own next time. So before I do that, I just want to get right into it. Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. With me, as always, is Bashar Sayed. And just before I hand it over to him, this is not a MAGA hat. This is not a MAGA hat. I went to Walmart once wearing this Forrest Gump, Bubba Gump Shrimp Company hat, and people thought it was a MAGA hat. It's not a MAGA hat. Again, I don't want the 5-run penalty, so I'm giving it to Bashar. Bashar, please take it away.
This is sponsored by Bubblegum Shrimp.
Yeah, Forrest himself messaged us and he said, you know what? You guys are doing so good on the podcast. Whenever Pakistan sucks, your views just skyrocket. I want to capitalize on that. And he said, life's like a box of chocolates. Sometimes like Pakistan winning, sometimes like Pakistan losing. So why don't you wear my hat? I'll give you free shrimp for a month.
This podcast was supposed to drop a day earlier, but I think me and you were recovering from the biggest upset in this World Cup so far. A team who has 2 points in the tournament and a win was beaten by a team that was yet to get off the mark with respect to wins. I am indeed talking about Pakistan defeating Canada at the World Cup and finally getting their first win in this World Cup. In this episode, we're talking about the Pakistan versus Canada match and then the India versus USA match that happened today. And finally, we'll just do a roundup of where we're at in this World Cup because some crazy things are happening as we speak. New Zealand is about to be eliminated by the West Indies. So we're in an interesting position where I think 3 of the last 4 semifinalists of the last T20 World Cup might be exiting the group stage of this World Cup.
I think the funniest thing of all time, and I know the viewers at home cannot see this, but the Patreon viewers will be able to see this when I post show notes back on Patreon. Bashar has written the show notes for all the games, and for the second game, the show notes are for India versus Australia. And you know what? The USA might just be Australia. That the way that they've been playing, clinical performances, just being proactive on the field, the fairy tale endings for some of these players is such a wonderful thing to see. And the mindset that they have is Australian. It's a killer mindset. That's how they got Canada, even though they were down in the dumps with them. They got a test playing nation, a 2-time champion nation, and they almost kind of little bit were sneaking away with the Indian game. We'll get to that. I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was funny. I'm not going to change it, and I'm going to leave it as is. And when I post the show notes on the Patreon as well.
In my defense, it was a brain fade moment.
I don't think it's brain fade. I think it's genius.
I think my brain is working in the future.
Yeah.
Because we know India and Australia, they're already seated in the same group for the Super 8s. They have a match that's confirmed now because they've both qualified. So I guess I was just, future looking to that moment.
Yeah, I respect that because you were kind of future looking into USA's moment too. Their qualification looks very imminent, like you said. You mentioned that. I kind of pushed back and you were angry. You said, I give people false hope. I'm not being true. There's 100 millimeters of rain that poured into Florida tonight and then another 35 tomorrow and then day after and so on. So in this situation, if USA just gets one more point, they will be ahead of Pakistan indefinitely and Pakistan will never be able to catch up just for one point. And that can happen if it's a rain out for either or. So we'll talk about, qualification scenarios near the end, but let's get back on track. Let's start tracking the Pakistan versus Canada match, and then we'll go into India versus Australia, and then we'll go into a little bit of a T20 World Cup roundup of what everything is going on in this World Cup. Because honestly, I'm not going to lie, as being a Pakistan cricket fan, I can still say this is one of the best World Cups I've seen in a very long time. And I know a lot of people are picking at the New York pitch and calling it unfair or calling it boring. And this is not exactly how World Cups pitches are supposed to be.
Say my name, bro.
Yeah. I mean, you were one of the people who were saying that. But at the same time, I also realized that it's so much fun when all the teams are on the playing level field. Like, level playing field. I mean, USA kind of almost stole it from India today. They did steal it from Pakistan. Canada was able to come back against Ireland, a test playing nation. Like, low scoring thrillers. I tweeted it once like few months ago, and it's coming true. And I love that.
Yeah, I think So I think the ICC is like sort of working on two extremes. For example, like in the PSL and the IPL, we see extremely high scoring matches where the competition between bat and ball is pulls apart. But now I feel with this pitch in the World Cup, it's become more bowling friendly and the batsmen are struggling. There needs to be sort of a balance. Like I think the pitch at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, where the West Indies versus New Zealand match was played today, was a bit more friendly. It was a bit more balanced. Uh, West Indies scored 149, and I think they've already won. As we
The breaking news is that New Zealand only lost by 13 runs.
oh really?
And yeah, so what happened near the end is my boy Santner here hit 3 sixes in the last over. They needed, how much did they need in the last over? They needed 33 off 6. And he hit 2 sixes in a row, dot 6, dot 1. So he hit 19 off the over and lost by 13. So I would agree. This was maybe a better pitch.
Yeah. Coming back to the Pakistan versus Canada match, Babar's luck favoring him again. He wins the toss. He bowls first. The shocking thing to me here is Pakistan go back to breaking the race bar opening pair. They bring in Saim Ayub. What's shocking to me is these geniuses in the Pakistan camp replaced a lower order finisher with a top order batsman.
Beautiful.
Who is out there making these calls? Like, we're club cricketers. We don't know anything about the game. But we can tell you one thing, that you can't replace a lower order finisher who can ball off spin with an opener.
I think the way that they conducted this was, we will give Usman as many chances as possible, regardless of what happens in this World Cup.
Just
he has
because
committed, he's committed. I'm gonna put this on. I will put this on. He's committed, and he's he's left contracts with the UAE. He's made all these amendments in his life to facilitate Pakistan. So Pakistan is doing all it can to facilitate my boy Uzi. And you know what? Massive respects. If you can pull a international team in a frenzy like that they will move out a lower middle order batsman to bring in an opener, because that's exactly what you are too, by the way. But they don't have enough confidence of you to bump you up the order, so like they'll bring Simon and move Ifti out. Like that's just, come on, that's like mafia level manipulation.
Wahab, I'm looking at you. I'm willing to leave my Canadian nationality if you can guarantee me a place in the Pakistan team for the next World Cup.
Ooh, 2026?
Champions Trophy in Pakistan.
Oh, okay. That's the one. That's the one. You know what? Talk to Ryan Ul Haq and see if he gets you in Islamabad United too.
Man, I can leave it. I can leave everything as long as you guarantee
quit the
me.
Podcast
virtually.
Yeah, so that's exactly what's happening. It's crazy because, like, it's insane. It doesn't make sense. If it's a power hitter, let's say what happened, which is Saim did not click. 12 balls, 6 runs in that match. And let's say if Pakistan wanted to take it deep, they don't have anyone to finish the game. If Pakistan was batting first, they wouldn't even make 110.
Don't you remember that stat that was showed in the series against New Zealand, where Usman Khan's stats when he's in the top 3 versus when he's in the lower order?
Yeah.
Anything below 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the differences in his stats were insane.
Yeah, but he's not a low order batsman.
So Pakistan took him from number 3, and they're now batting him at number 5 because he's gone even below Fakhar Zaman.
Mm-hmm.
So just, this makes no sense.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, I'm trying to make it make sense, and it doesn't make sense. Saim, I like that. Like the top 4, I'm okay with. Thank you for the water. Can you also fix the plug over there in the wall? The thing with Saim that I'm okay with is, like, he should be in the opener spot, so the top 4 is set for me. Usman doesn't make this team for me anyways, so he should be out. Sit him 1 game out. Let's see what happens. Maybe you'll find the balance that you're missing.
I was just reading the article from Usman Samuddin where he talks about how we're back at criticizing Rizbar, and we also realize now that with Rizbar, our middle order is also completely and utterly shit. I think the diagnosis is there. The diagnosis is that Rizwan Babar should not be opening. Our middle order needs to be improved. But I don't think Saim Ayub is the right prescription to diagnose the problem. He's been given ample opportunities, and it seems like he's just not ready for this stage.
In Osman's article, he was quoting another ESPN Cricket Info writer, which I'm forgetting his name, but I just want to read
Matt
this.
Roller, was it?
I could have been. He wrote this beautiful piece on Rizbar, and this part, I think, on But Fast, Usman had read this as well. I want to read it on backward point because it's so poignant. It basically encompasses the entire argument between the middle order and Rizbar. So this is how it goes. Rizwan and Babar bat deep, which means the middle order rarely get the chance to face many balls. When they do, their dearth of recent opportunities means they underperform. That, in turn, means that Rizwan and Babar feel their need to get things done themselves, and the middle order opportunities are once again limited. What came first, the chicken or the egg?
The issue with Pakistan and the middle order is very similar to the issue that India had in the 2019 ODI World Cup, if you remember.
Yes.
Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan, KL Rahul, Virat Kohli were batting so brilliantly the whole tournament, where their middle order and lower middle order did not get many opportunities to bat. And come the World Cup semi-final against New Zealand, when they lost a few quick wickets up top, their middle order was undercooked.
Were they with 30 for 4, 30 for 5?
Yeah, they were like, I think 8 for 3, 30 for 4.
Yeah.
When Dinesh Karthik got out, and then Rishabh Pant, Hardik Pandya just didn't have the match practice to go out there and play the innings that India needed at the time. And I feel like Pakistan is sort of in the same position. Rizwan Babar, it's a double-edged sword. When they don't perform, there's criticism. When they perform, they play too slow, and then they put pressure on the middle order.
It's consistent, but it's low impact. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll give you maybe a 50-run start, but they'll give it to you in like 7 overs or 6.5 overs. And at that point, is it important? Like, what's important? Is 6 overs, 55 for 2 important, or is 6 overs, 40 for 0 important? Like, that's the conundrum that Pakistan finds itself in. At least in this game, it was very evident that this latter was not what the former, I should say, was not what they wanted, which means that they did not want 55 for 2 and 6. They wanted 40 for 0 and just keep that momentum because you wanted to go a little bit under run a ball when they were chasing against Canada. And they did that. So the frustrating thing for Pakistani fans is the innings that Rizwan played against Canada was the same exact innings that he needed to play against the US. Sorry, against India. And it wasn't there. Same thing with Babar. Babar played the same innings. This is exactly what we wanted. Run a ball. You didn't have to do anything fancy. You know, if you find the bad ball, you come down the track, you hit them for 6. But otherwise, you just take it one ball at a time and you just make sure that the score is being ticked off. And that was frustrating for me as a Pakistan cricket fan to watch that. Otherwise, it was just a straightforward game. Pakistan won it with about 7 wickets in hand with balls to spare, net rate bumping up. It was a good game for Pakistan overall.
What did you think of my boy Aaron Johnson's innings up top? 4 fours, 4 sixes. I spoke to him at Cricket Night at the Ballpark that was hosted by the Blue Jays, and you recorded a video of me having a chat with Aaron Johnson. And I was talking to him about his role in the Canadian team as an opener, maximizing the power play, and really taking the attack down. I think his career strike rate is like 160 odd.
Yeah.
And he said he's going to go hard in the power play. And he said that they're familiar with the drop in conditions in New York and Dallas. So I was glad to see him scoring runs at this level. He sort of gave a fist pump when he got that 50.
I was happy for both Aaron Johnson and Saad Zafar. Like Saad, being from Pakistani origin, being extremely Pakistani in his roots, was able to play a World Cup match against Pakistan's greats with Rizwan, Babar, Shaheen, Haris, Naseem. Like it was a dream come true for him. I know that. And it'll be actually more interesting to see him against India when they play them. It's just one of those things where I know that these are like lifelong stories that he'll be able to tell his grandkids. Like, hey, you know Babar Azam, one of the greatest batsmen of all time. Yeah, I played against him, and I bowled against him, and I was pretty good. And your prediction of Saad Zafar getting Babar out did not come true, though. I just want to make that clear. Your prediction was that the left armer is going to bowl an angle one in, and Babar's going to be struck on the path, and he's going to be plumb. That did not happen, even though there were a few scary moments where I was like, as soon as he gave a little bit of flight, I was like, oh no, he's going to come down the track and defend one. I don't want it to hit the pad, but Babar negotiated pretty well. And I think overall, Pakistan versus Canada was a good game in favor of Pakistan. There was a lot of talk and chatter because now I'm plugged in to the Pakistani news channels and the TVs and or whatever is happening. Whatever's happening. Whatever's happening on Harna Mana Hai and whatever's happening to Ahmed Shahzad, like I know that now, like on a first-hand basis. I've been watching that stuff live. And everybody was criticizing how you should have chased it in 14. Man, you should have chased it in 14. 14 was when you had to chase it. You didn't chase it in 14. What? Sorry, that was my impression of just like people being complete idiots. You don't have points on the table and you're out here trying to be proactive. No, do the basics right, get 2 points on the table, and then we'll see the run rate. And if everything is supposed to go your way anyways, which means that USA is supposed to lose the next 2 games, their run rate is going to drop anyways because their run rate is just a few points ahead of yours, like decimal points ahead of yours. And at this point, as it stands right now, after India beats USA and Pakistan beats Canada, Pakistan on run rate is up above USA. So it's all about points now. It's a straightforward game. Ireland needs to beat USA, Pakistan needs to beat Ireland, and Pakistan is through.
What did you make of Mohammad Amir's bowling? I think the spell he bowled to Ravinder Paul Singh, he angled a couple across, brought 2 back in, and almost gave me pretty bad vibes of Mohammad Amir.
I think Mohammad Amir bowled exceptionally well, but I think in low-scoring thrillers like this, where the pitch is basically assisting all of the bowlers except for spinners and Junaid Siddiqui, I think that yes, they bowled exceptionally well. And I'm talking about Arshdeep here and Amir. Left armers bringing it in, bringing it out. Exceptional spells, economical overs. You still got to give the man of the match or the player of the match to the batsmen who were able to negotiate that really difficult pitch. I think Rizzi should have gotten the man of the match or player of the match against the Pakistan Canada game, and Sky should have gotten the player of the match against the US game.
The Australia thing got to him.
I haven't bolded. I was looking at it. They should have gotten player of the matches because it was a tricky pitch and they negotiated well and they were on chasing sides and they made it happen. But nothing taking away from Amir and Arshdeep. They both bowled really well. I mean, what are you going to say? Like, this is a pitch that I swear to God, if you were there, you would have probably taken a couple as well. So, and
I'm offended.
That's no disrespect to you or Amir.
It is. That's
you guys
blatant.
No, like you are not like a professional cricketer, but like that pitch was assisting bowlers so much that you would have got some. Maybe
if Shivam Dubey can bowl on that pitch, I can bowl on that pitch.
Do you think I could have bowled better than Junaid Siddiqui? But what was he doing?
Probably.
He was. My friend was texting me. He was like, "Yo, who's this guy with the Shahid Afridi action?" And I'm like, "Bro, it ends when the ball is being released. The Shahid Afridi.
If you ask me,
it was straight up. It was loopy. It wasn't turning. I was like, hit this guy for 6 sixes. What are you doing, Rizwan?
Canada made a mistake of playing him to begin with.
Yes, I agree.
Canada should have played with 4 seamers. Had they had 4 seamers, this could have been a more closer game because there's no actual spin on the pitch to offer, and anything too full or too short is going for runs.
Do you know anybody who should have replaced Junaid Siddiqui in the squad or in the backbench?
So they have someone called Rayan Pathan. He's not really like a quick bowler, but he can bowl decent medium pace.
At this point, you don't need quick.
Yeah.
Like, what's this called? Natravalkar was bowling in the 120s, low 120s.
True.
And he got Kohli out for his ball. So
yeah, we'll talk about that. But just before we get to the India versus USA match, what is Pakistan's qualification scenario right now?
It's very easy, bro. It's very simple. USA has to lose from Ireland and Ireland has to lose from Pakistan. It's it's no net run rate anymore. Like, if USA loses from Ireland, their net rate, their NRR drops anyways, and their points stay the same. And Pakistan just has to beat Ireland because they're above NRR on USA as it stands right now anyways. So it's all about points.
I'm going to actually disagree. It's not that easy because there's some factors that are out of our control.
Yeah, okay, the weather.
For example, the weather.
Yeah, the weather.
So USA versus Ireland is scheduled to happen on Friday. And I just checked the weather for Lauderhill, Florida, and it shows a heap ton of rain in this coming week. So today they scheduled about 100 millimeters of rain, and then tomorrow there was another 30 millimeters of rain, and on Saturday there was about 10 millimeters of rain. So, and there's been lots of rain happening the past few days. The Nepal versus Sri Lanka match got rained out. We just saw a story from Saad Zafar and Naseem Shah on Instagram, which showed how much it's actually raining. So considering the USA versus Ireland match gets rained out, the points get split. Automatically, USA has 5 points and they will go through.
Yeah, the group is over then after that. Like, it's done.
In that scenario, do you think Pakistan should finally play abrar?
Yeah, I guess at this point, I just want to, again, this is where you and I were fighting before the game, before the podcast started. This is my high level of optimism. Right now, though, I hear everything you just said. Right now, as it stands at 12:25 a.m. on June 13th, it's 25 degrees and cloudy with no rain. It's not raining right now. It does say flood warning, and it does say that these conditions are expected to last until 8 a.m. Thursday, June 13th. But I'm thinking that yeah, the predictions are somber, but it might fizzle off. It might the skies might part. That's what I think. And all they gotta do is part for 3.5 hours, bro. Not even actually. They can part for 3 hours. They can get like 15 over games in, and Ireland can beat them. If that's the case, that's all you need. It's all because as the days go by, the weather does get clearer and clearer. So by the time it comes Sunday, maybe you'll get a full game against Pakistan and Ireland. But as it stands right now, I am hopeful that you might get the overs in.
98% rain on Friday.
That doesn't mean what you think it means.
Flood watch.
It's
And
flood watch
we,
till
we,
8 a.m.
we don't even know what the drainage at the ground is like. Like, what if
Isn't it a
what if
proper
there's just
stadium, though?
puddles? It is a proper stadium, but
proper
we still don't know how good the drainage system there is.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you could say that. You could say that, but I'm hoping all you need is 5 overs in. That could be bowled in 30 minutes.
T5.
That could be bowled in 30 minutes. 5 overs in.
The 30.
That's what I'm saying. And if that happens and that goes Ireland's way, then
So even if that match happens, Ireland has to win over USA.
it has to win.
Ireland, who lost to Canada, and USA, who beat Canada. Okay, I think it's still. I'm a pessimist. This is a very long stretch,
You think it's unlikely?
and
I think it'll be so anticlimactic if USA make it through the line over a technicality like rain. I think that'll be.
well, they've been the better team. They beat Canada.
So you're saying destiny and fate is working.
Absolutely.
them
I think they've been the better team. Pakistan just has not been there the past 6 months. So, and with all that's been happening, I think Pakistan's group round exit might actually help the team in rebuilding and for the next World Cup.
You believe that?
I believe that.
And you call me an optimist.
Yeah.
I think that's unfair. I think what's funny is that rain really spoiled England's party. I think that's hilarious. That Scotland English game, Scotland England game got rained out, so they both have points, and they got a thrashing from Australia, and now they're so low on the table that Australia's out there saying stuff like what was that Hazelwood press conference? It makes no sense to me. Like, why would you come out and out your plan? And now ICC is like, oh, we know if Australia throw the game, they'll be penalized. And my question is, how do you know Australia's going to throw the game? What if Scotland actually play well and they get a maybe lazy, lethargic, not focused Australian team down and out? How can you prove that Australia threw the game?
Yeah, there's no actual way to prove that. The things I can do.
And by the way, sorry, last thing, I saw this on the internet. The worst that the ICC can do to penalize them is take the captain's match fee and fine him 50% of it.
No, I heard they can ban him for a match.
I think they'll take it.
Yeah, depending on who.
Just to make it the
is.
funniest exit of all time.
I mean, strategically, why would you not want to have England in the Super 8? Like, you would want to do anything in your power to have them eliminated, right? They're defending champions. They're contenders to win the World Cup. So why not play a match where you win, but not by a huge margin, still ensuring that England is knocked out? So, yeah, this is really strange. England is on the brink of being eliminated. Pakistan is virtually out. New Zealand lost today. They're out. So 3 of the last 4 semifinalists of the last T20 World Cup are eliminated.
Well, not yet, but okay. I see where you're going with it. They haven't been eliminated yet.
The last T20 World Cup finalists have been knocked out of the Super 8s.
Yes.
I'm just preemptively saying this.
Yes, you are.
So it's gonna be strange. Teams like the USA, Afghanistan, and Scotland going to Super 8s. This has been the best World Cup so far.
honestly, it's been fun to watch every single game. That's what I'm gonna say. Like the Netherlands South Africa game got really close. That was really fun watching that. Afghanistan New Zealand game was really fun watching. Just the domination that Afghanistan had against New Zealand. Scotland Australia will be really fun to watch. What happens in that game? That'll be interesting. It was actually the games that were like the straightforward games that weren't fun. Like the Australia England game was not fun because it was very straightforward. What was fun was the Bangladesh Sri Lanka game. That was fun. So these teams are coming up with these snap wins, and it's just making this tournament alive, which is also a testament to how good these smaller teams have become. The gap that used to be, between Bangladesh and Australia, it's not that the wide anymore. It's actually a lot closer than it is. And with pitches like the New York pitches, you can come out, and if you're, on their day, if it's your day, you can pull it through like USA did.
Yeah. I mean, Australia really doesn't have any incentive of winning the match by a huge margin. We talked about in the World Cup preview that the seedings have been predetermined. So regardless if Australia finishes first or second, they'll be going into Group 1 with India, and then India, Australia, and then two other teams. Afghanistan, likely,
Mhm.
and one more team. I forgot.
South Africa or Bangladesh, probably.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So New Zealand is out 2 for 2, and they have 2 games left. The most they can get is 4 points. If Afghanistan loses their next 2 games, then it'll be tough. But Afghanistan's NRR is 5.22, and even if they drop to like 2 or 3, still like it's way too much.
Yeah, it's over for New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand is in the deficit of a -7 NRR to make it past, and that's a lot of runs that they have to cope with. And on the other hand, England is number 4 on their groups table with a negative run rate of 1.8. They still have 2 games left, and Scotland and Australia both have a game each left. So it's going to be interesting how that rallies up. And then, you might have Scotland playing, United States playing in the Super 8s with Afghanistan and Bangladesh. Who would have thought? That was not in anybody's bingo card. Like, I would have loved to see people bet on that. Drake, put your money where your mouth is. Bet on this.
Let's talk about the India versus USA match. The top 2 teams of Group A going head to head in New York. Probably the biggest crowd the USA team has ever played under.
And the surprising thing was there was USA supporters in that crowd. There was a moment where I think they got Rohit Sharma's at wicket, and I could hear an audible, like, loud scream and cheer from the crowd. And I was like, really?
It's actually, so the Indian fans were split. They're like, do we support the NRIs or do we support the local Indians?
How split do you think they were? Was that actually like a concernable split where you could, determine the two sides, or was it just like a few people?
Well, if you count the decibel count of Rohit Sharma's wicket versus a wicket of Shan Jahangir from USA, noticeable difference.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. If you were one of those Indians who were at the New York game and were supporting USA, please let us know. We'd love to talk to you about it. Like, how did that feel? Because we're Pakistanis and we do support Canada. I think I support Canada in every single game they played against every other team, like apart from the game against Pakistan, because that's my number 1 team. And, they're going to play against India and I'm going to support Canada. Like, that would be so amazing. Imagine if that happens, if they pull that off, that'll be insane. And we're going to support them. But when it comes to the homeland versus the motherland, support the motherland.
Yeah, like Mikhail, which team does he support in Canada versus Pakistan?
The opposite for him, isn't it? It's the homeland versus the motherland. And like it was a good game. India played really well, but you got to give it to USA. They came up, they showed up. They had India for 3 for 2. They got Virat Kohli first ball duck. Like, what is Netravalkar going to put in his CV now? What is left? He got Babar Azam and co out of the World Cup. He got Virat Kohli, golden duck. He's never had a duck in T20I World Cups. Never. Golden duck. First ball ever. And Netravalkar gets him. And like, is there going to be a special area in his resume when he leaves Oracle? Obviously, because now he's going to get like 3x the money at other places. Google and Apple are like throwing their money at him. When he goes to those interviews and they ask him, can you tell us an important event in your life that changed who you are? And he's like, I had the new ball. I was bowling in to Virat Kohli, the greatest cricketer of all time, the GOAT, and I got him first ball. He was out. If I was the hiring manager, hired. You know what? Take my space. You got my seat. I will give you all my money. It's over. The debate is over. You, sir, you are the GOAT. Kohli might be the GOAT, but you, sir, what you've done, priceless.
I think he has to add a special place in his resume with achievements.
Yes.
And there he has to say, beat Pakistan at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Got wickets of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Virat Kohli for Golden Duck.
Like, it doesn't get better than that. But if I told you that your life would end up like that, you'd be working at where you work and want to expose your hiring company, your day job. But you also have like a side gig where you play against, like, you play with Canada and you get Virat Kohli out. Would you shut up about it?
That would be the dream. I think Saurabh is living the dream where on one hand, he is a successful engineer and also he is a pretty good cricketer to have gotten the achievements he has. So that's what you call balancing your work life and your family life and your personal life.
A lot of people were really mad when one of our shorts and reels got really viral on social media, where I said Pakistan lost against an IT manager. And okay, fair enough, he's not an IT manager.
He's a principal IT staff member at Oracle.
There we go. Thank you very much for clearing that up. I do apologize for all the people that were hurt and offended by my message. That was not the point. The point of that reel was that Pakistan lost to a guy who has a day job. That was the point. Now we insert day job here, but I guess people were really worked up. I apologize. You're one of those people. Netravalkar should get all his flowers. He's been great. He's been actually the joy of this tournament. Just following his World Cup has been just a lot of fun.
He should be getting an IPL contract, and maybe for the RCB. There was a bowler from England called Richard Gleeson, and his debut match for England, he got wickets of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, and one more batsman. And I think the IPL draft was pretty like close to that date of his debut, and lo and behold, IPL contract.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this because we talked about this prior when we were watching the New Zealand Sri Lanka game. He could probably just play on his Indian heritage. Doesn't have to be an international player for the IPL.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe a local player.
Yeah, he could do that. He could play from the Mumbai district.
Because I think
very interesting.
When we speak to Todd Zafar and we're like, why don't you play in the PSL? And he says, they don't pick me because I end up being a foreign player and nobody wants to sort of waste a spot as a foreign player for me. So if Saad Zafar could use his Pakistani heritage...
But then again, the PSL has the thing where you have to play domestic for a year before you can play the PSL.
That's true.
So maybe India has something like that too. Well, I'm not sure. If you guys know, please let us know. It would be really funny to see Netravalkar at the IPL. That'd be just vibe and good times. So Sky basically pulls India out of the rut that they were in and finishes the game off. He has a 50 and he does the job. And India are certainly unbeaten. What is troublesome now is their openers, Rohit and Virat Kohli. They haven't clicked in a single game. It's been 3 games. Given that all 3 games that they've played are at New York, so maybe that's one of the reasons. But they've never really gotten a proper start, and they've all gotten out in the power play. No one's made it out of the power play, and it might be a little bit of a worrisome situation. But do you think that is at all concerning for India? Is that something that they're thinking about, or they're like, these are vibes, don't worry when it comes to the big games in West Indies, when the pitches are true pitches, it'll be tough for them to get out?
If you ask my opinion, I think Virat Kohli is best suited for India at number 3 because he sort of acts as a glue from the top order to the middle order, and he is great at handling pressure. Like when India, if they lose a wicket in the first over or in the power play, Virat Kohli can go in, consolidate, but also play at his strike rate, which is 138. So I don't think Virat Kohli at opening is the best call because he's also like, he has to play a bit different than what his natural game is. Like he has evolved his game in the last IPL, scored the second most runs he has in any IPL season, and at a strike rate of over 150. So he's changed his game, but obviously when you're playing high risk cricket, high risk, high reward, and chances of getting out are actually higher.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Rohit will persist with him and Virat opening, because once you get to the West Indies or Florida next, you might see better pitchers and Virat might be in the runs there. But I'm sure he is extremely happy and ecstatic that the New York leg is done because his scores were like, what, 140?
Yeah.
Like, is he trying to make up a phone number here? What area code is that, Virat?
410, 401. I don't know. I think everybody's kind of relieved that the New York leg is over, including the Pakistanis. And I don't know if they move forward from this group or not. And if they don't, then it's all a moot point. But I enjoyed the New York leg. A lot of people have differing opinions. I thought it was competitive. It was fun. You actually did not know who would come out victorious in any of the games. There was a point where Netherlands was pulling through and South Africa just made it back. I thought that would be really hilarious if, Netherlands came up and South Africa were out. That would be just 3-on-3.
Bangladesh almost upset Netherlands. Oh, sorry, South Africa.
Exactly that. That game was also a very fun game. And like that's what I mean. Like it was just fun all along. And I think the New York fans include a lot of the Toronto fans because a lot of people from Canada did travel over to enjoy the cricket, and it was just fun for everyone. I would now like for this to move further east. I would like international games to happen in Canada, in Toronto. I think it'll be a lot of fun. There's actually already precedence for that. I think a bigger board should take heed, maybe have like a quadrangular series. Let's say we can have a South Africa, a Pakistan, a USA, and a Canada. Have like a 2-week tournament. Just make it fun. Play a game in Toronto, play a game in New York, play a game in Florida if you want. Have 3 locations. Just make it happen. And this is a great opportunity for ICC to capitalize on that. Like four nation tournaments used to be a thing. 3 nation tournaments used to be a thing, and bring it back. Involve these younger, newer boards and newer teams. It'll just be fun.
In the 90s, Pakistan played a lot of triangular series in Australia. Pakistan, India, Australia. And if India, Pakistan can't play bilaterals, I think a tri-series could be the solution. Hosted in a neutral venue.
The Asia Cup basically has become. So why not just make it a little bit, expand a little bit more, add a few more teams. Another idea I actually had, this is not part of the podcast, but I've been thinking about this. How do you make bilaterals more interesting is you just add stakes to it, right? And the way you can add stakes to it is to just ante up the competition. Triangular series, quadrangular series, that's a really good idea. Another idea I had was thinking about is like, the rankings mean nothing, right? Everybody's like, the rankings mean nothing, the rankings mean nothing. Why don't you make them mean something? If you end up like in a certain window, if you end up in the top 4, the top 4 get to battle, like get to play this special cup that they have, a special tournament that they have, 7-8 games.
That's kind of like what the Champions Trophy is. Right? The top 8 teams play the Champions Trophy.
Boom. But the top 8 play the Champions Trophy here as well. But maybe you could do something else with the top 4, and you can make it a yearly thing. Have a window, have a cycle where it actually means something.
There's conversations on, are there too many ICC tournaments too frequently? Like, for example, the ODI World Cup just finished in November, and then we had the T20 World Cup in June in a space of 7 months.
So the problem is that because the ICC is not league-based, you don't really have a routine schedule. Let me explain. So the NBA, when the first game starts, when the last game ends, when is playoff season, that for the next 100 years. Same thing with the Champions League, same thing with EPL, same thing with all of them. You know that. You know it. When the first game is going to start, when the schedule starts, what season they're going to play, etc. With the ICC events, you don't know. But at the same time, ICC is trying to be competitive with these modern leagues. You can't have one tournament every 4 years. They're trying to have a tournament every year. Some sort of the tournament. So it's the way it's scheduled out is, so let's say if the cycle starts with the T20 World Cup, then it'll be a Champions Trophy, then it'll be another T20 World Cup, then it'll be a ODI World Cup, 4 years.
And then a World Test Championship final as well.
Yeah, that's just squished somewhere in the middle. That doesn't really count to the 4 main ones where all the countries are participating. And then so on and so forth. Like you keep that ball moving. So that's the vibe that they're at. I don't really mind it. I think it's cool. It's fine. It's whatever. At least we get a tournament every year. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah. I think if the ICC can help with anything, they should probably organize a Champions League. We talked about this in a previous podcast where...
For the club, like the
for the franchise leagues, yeah. Probably like top 8, test playing nations having franchise leagues. The winner plays in a tournament that's knockout.
Yep.
Like Champions Trophy, like 2 groups of 4, and then the top 2 from each group play semis and finals.
Yeah.
Like a 2-week tournament.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And I think a lot of fun that I'm having in this tournament is that the amount of games that are just happening. 3 games a day. That's so much fun. Like you watch one, you kind of get that high of, that was a great game, and then just wait a couple hours for another one, get that high. I think for us, it's even better because the games start at 10 a.m. and end at like 10 p.m. So it's cricket all day for us.
Yeah. Today I was watching the West Indies versus New Zealand match as I was having my dinner. So 8:30 p.m. the match started. I was having dinner, was watching the match, enjoying my food and my cricket at the same time. And we don't rarely ever happens.
Yeah, we don't get to do that. and that was fun to do that. But yeah, like that was just one of the thoughts I had. Like you can make the rankings mean something by doing this. Not just the Champions Trophy that happens like the last one happened in 2017, and then you're having a random one in 2024.
Taken. Pakistan will go in next Champions Trophy as defending champions.
That's true.
Bring back Sarfraz.
Don't start that right now. Do not start that. Anything else you want to say about the India versus USA game?
Yeah, I loved Arshdeep's bowling. I think he is a really good find for India, left arm bowler who can swing the ball back in, who is a great death over bowler, who bowls good under pressure. And now, because he's under the wing of Jasprit Bumrah and Siraj, he's also becoming a very smart bowler. So kudos to him. Great performance. Love to see Sky's different innings. Like typically he's known for his lap shots or the way he manipulates the field. But today he really showed that he has a different side to himself.
I think he was running the ball today.
He can build in innings. He can hit the odd boundary, play singles and doubles. And that's what the need of the hour was today for India.
Yeah. He was 49 ball 50. And even Shivam Dubey was 35 ball 31. It worked. They made it happen.
Shivam Dubey bowling today convinced me that is in fact why India went with Dubey ahead of Rinku Singh, because Shivam Dubey can bowl and over. And I think Rohit Sharma said that he liked having the extra bowling option if he can. So yeah, I guess that's the answer for why Shivam was picked over Rinku Singh.
Yeah, I think I said India were 3 for 2. They were 12 for 2. My bad. I was thinking of some other game. Yeah, they were 12 for 2.
15 for 2.
12 for 2.
Virat Kohli gets out second ball. India is 6 for 1. And then Rohit Sharma gets out 2.2. 15 for 2.
Okay, well, whatever. Yeah,
my bro is tripping.
I am tripping. It's crazy. Anyways, yeah, so that was the India versus USA game. What is else on the agenda? T20 World Cup equation. Pakistan versus really out. That is true. New Zealand is out right now. That is also true. If you want to talk quickly about the New Zealand West Indies game, I thought West Indies were out of the tournament.
30 for 5.
They were 30 for 5. And then Sherfane Rutherford, like I tweeted from the Backward Point account, he's the cheat code for West Indies. He comes at a very specific number, and if he flops, West Indies flops. He's the backbone. He scored 50 today. He scored about 30 odd runs in the last 2 overs. It's insane innings. And we've seen him firsthand play for Montreal Tigers, take them to a championship at the T20. I was really happy to see him convert those numbers over to international. That's how it's done, guys. For the people who are watching and our friends of the podcast, Azam, that's how it's done. You convert your league numbers to your international numbers like this. And he pulled West Indies out of a rut. They were in a position where they were like 77 for 7 or something at one point. They were not even going to cross 100. And he came out and he made sure that they made 150. They made 149, 150 target. And that was way too much for New Zealand. If they had gotten bowled out at around 100, 110, as you could see was happening, which was forecasted, the way that New Zealand had them in a chokehold, it would have been over for West Indies. But pulled it back. He gave his team a strong position to end the first innings. And when they came back, they were clinical and they made it happen. So, and they only lost by 13 runs. So, his runs really made a difference at the end. I don't know how Williamson calculated his bowlers, but
I think he wanted to get wickets towards the end. Like he wanted to get West Indies all out. And in trying to do that, he had 2 overs left, which he needed to get from his bowlers. So Daryl Mitchell, a part-timer, comes into bowl the 19th, gets smashed. And then Mitch Santner comes into bowl the last over, also gets smashed.
Yeah.
So this is strange because New Zealand has made the last 6 semifinals, at least, or finals of the last 6 ICC World Cups. So this is going to be the first ICC event where they will not make the Super 8s even.
Yeah, that's very crazy to me. I think the top 4 of last World Cup, they're endangered right now. They might not be able to make it out of the group stages, and I think that's insane. Also, I think it's really funny. So let's keep this happening, guys. Like this is the beauty of T20 cricket to me. If it opens up the world literally to the game of cricket that anybody can beat anybody, and I'm so happy Pakistan was the one who laid on the foundation of that happening. It's anybody's tournament.
Yeah, I think on that note, we will be watching the weather in Lauderhill very closely, and we should be back in a couple of days. I mean, we need a break too.
Yeah, this one was important to do just because of the Pakistan game, and then we also promised everybody that we're going to touch upon every single major event that's happening. And these are, I think, we did a good roundup of the World Cup so far. The Florida weather looks absolutely horrendous. There have been whispers of maybe moving the games. I don't know how logistically that's possible. I don't think it's going to be possible because then England is like, why don't you just move our game as well if it's raining? Um, but I don't know what's gonna happen. I am optimistic here, sitting here, saying to you guys, if we get five aside match, that's enough for me. As long as Ireland secures 2 points. By the time it comes to Ireland and Pakistan, I feel like the weather will part and it'll be easier. And like Moses passing through the Red Sea, Babar Azam will pass through into the group stages, from the group stages into the Super 8s.
If things get too out of hand, they can always have an indoor one-tip match.
Yeah, we should do that. You and I should have that.
Who's winning?
You know what's gonna happen.
I got you.
You don't even come play pickup ball with me, man. This guy's such a sore loser. Come.
I'm in the gym. I have 2 games this week, bro. Friday night and Saturday morning. So I'm out here trying to be fit for my games, and I need workload management.
All I hear is excuses. Come, pickleball court, you and me, we're ready. If you guys want to see a pickleball match between Bashar and I, leave us in the comments. Do you want to let the nice folks at Backward Point Fan Club, let them know what the emoji of the day is, sir?
The emoji of the day is rainfall.
Ooh.
It is clouds. It is thunder, because that's what the weather in Lauderhill is. And that is what Pakistan's near future looks like. Cloudy, raining, thunders, uncertainty, bleak, and dark.
You guys are listening to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Najib Sayed, and with me, as always, is my brother Bashar Sayed. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out Patreon, Discord, all the fun stuff in the description below. If you guys want show notes, it's all available on Patreon. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.